Yes, guys, what's up? Speci here. There's a little bit of Gwent drama going on, so I thought it would be rude not to tell you all about it. There's been a competitive ruling for Wang ID 2021. There is the Gwent Masters coming up very soon in December, and there's been this drama going on in the background for a very long time. I've been aware of it. It's not been the most public of knowledge. There were some accusations that Wang ID was doing some win trading in the final competitive season. The final competitive season, it was all about who could get the most crown points. So the higher up the ladder you finished, the more crown points you got. And the crown point standings ended up with Wang ID finishing slightly above Shaggy, which meant that Wang ID got a place in Masters and Shaggy was just going to miss out. However, as you can see, this has changed. And we're going to talk about exactly what has happened, because now it means that Wang ID is not going to be in Masters because he's been deducted crown points, and Shaggy therefore is going to be the player that takes his place. So what has been going on? Let's read all about it. I know a lot about this from behind the scenes. I've known for quite a long time. There was even a lot of this is because Wang ID was streaming his games, and there was some dodgy forfeits going on against the same player multiple times, basically. So I don't think that he would have been caught if he wasn't streaming this happening. So it's kind of crazy, really, that that was really the cause of why he got caught, because he was, doing it live on stream in front of viewers, and then obviously you can clip the stream. There's video evidence. So, yeah, little alarming, obviously, at that side of it. That would he have gotten away with it if he wasn't streaming? Who knows? So, after investigating reports about suspicious behaviour on the rank ladder during the season of the Dryad, we have found that Wang ID received unwarranted victories from the players, forfeiting to him with a purpose to improve his position on the ladder. Such an activity violates paragraph 12.38 of Gwent Masters rule set, basically cheating and match fixing. While we don't have on-record evidence suggesting that Wang ID was requesting other players to forfeit, in other words, they don't have messages of him saying this, our analysis of match history and replays showed the abnormally high rate of unwarranted victories received from such players, including multiple victories against, I believe this is Porkbelly. So we had this thing before with Porkbelly where he was initially banned, but then they sort of changed their mind because basically this was a different account. Porkbelly, like, couldn't prove it was exactly his. So this is all linked, okay, to the same thing. This has been going on in the background for a long time. I know Shaggy's just sort of been waiting to see what happens, and been waiting to see if the issue resolves itself before, there was talk about maybe some more drama happening. Obviously, if Wang ID wasn't to get crown points deducted and Shaggy wasn't to make it, Shaggy would have been pretty unhappy, understandably, and there could have been even more drama. So I think this is the best outcome of the situation that Wang ID has been docked points. So yeah, he's been deducted crown points. He basically got, since 3.7% of matches played by Wang ID were found in violation of Rule 12.3, MMR will be deducted from his Season of the Dryad score, which basically means he didn't finish as high up the ladder and he lost 15 crown points. Now, this is a diplomatic approach, I would say, because the maths works out that the 3.7% of matches, if you deduct that amount of MMR, it means that he did have less crown points, or does end up with less crown points than Shaggy, which means that Shaggy is going to be qualifying because Wang ID is after the 15 points, it's now 2 points behind Shaggy. I guess the concern is moving forwards in the future, if this win trading was to happen again, and there was, it wasn't enough of a deduction, and they would still qualify for Masters, that could be a bit of a sticky situation, because I don't think anyone would want win traders involved in Gwent Masters. With this change, Wang ID will not receive the invitation to participate in World Masters Season 3, as he won't have enough crown points to make it to top 4. We'd like to use this opportunity to remind players that attempts to manipulate ranked ladder results will not be tolerated. Both sides, players intentionally forfeiting as well as players getting free wins from these actions, are bound only to lose from engaging in this activity. So really positive from CDPR that Wang ID has basically been reprimanded for this. But again, Wang ID, the evidence was in video format. He streamed his games. I'm not sure exactly the site that he streams on, but it's not Twitch. It's like the Chinese alternative to Twitch, right? I'm not sure of the name of the site though, but I know it's a very popular site within the Chinese community. of streaming. BB, something like that. Cool. So yeah, Wang ID not in Masters. Shaggy is pretty dramatic. Been waiting to sort of find out how this was resolved for a very, very long time. It could have also been Spyby that was impacted by this, but Spyby, because Shaggy crashed out of Open 4 in the last round, in the last Open, he crashed out in the first round. It meant that Spyby ended up having a couple more crown points. Spyby, a good friend of mine, being on TLG, and I mean Shaggy, I do know not really well personally, but just through Twitch and obviously through watching him a bunch. But he's not my team. I don't have like a personal relationship particularly with him, but really do like Shaggy, and I'm really happy to see that Wang ID has not been rewarded for cheating, because that's what it is, right? It is cheating. He even says here he has been found to be cheating, and that is a very, very sad sight indeed. So that is the Gwent drama. What do you guys think about it? Do you think this was enough? Do you think Wang ID should be banned for longer? Do you think this is just fair because it resolves it and then we move into the next season? Let me know what you guys think. I think overall, it just seems like the best outcome for all parties involved. It makes sense for Shaggy, it makes sense for CDPR, and for Wang ID as well. He can still participate next year, and hopefully he learns his lesson. So again, just to reiterate exactly how he cheated, he was queuing into players, maybe not intentionally, maybe by chance, but when they realized they were playing against each other, which you might identify through having the same leader skin, the same card back, right? You might have like a specific card back leader skin, maybe some emotes. Then you just chat in Discord or whatever, like, yo, mate, can you forfeit, please? They forfeit, bang, you get the win, you climb up the ladder, you get more crown points. So, yeah, pretty mad stuff. Obviously, Pro Ladder has no names, like the names have been hidden to try and remove this. So, I would probably say, personally, that we could maybe get names back in Pro Ladder. It's something I would really like to see. I really hate not being able to see who my opponent is. It's one thing I really enjoy about being in rank 1 is I know exactly who my opponent is. And as a streamer, in fairness, being able to hide my name is pretty good. Like if I wanted to play competitively, I wouldn't want to just queue into a game. Someone sees they're playing against me and then they click on my stream. But if people want to stream snipe me, they can, right? They just look at when I'm queuing a game, they queue at the same time and they just have a deck. And it is a problem. It does definitely happen. But I would personally just like to maybe see the option of hiding your name, because clearly hiding your name doesn't actually stop win trading from happening. And if people want to win trade and cheat and match fix, they can still do it. So yeah, I'd personally quite like to see names come back on Pro Ladder. That would be pretty damn cool. But anyway, I thought I'd bring you guys this video because it is important information that you guys are going to be interested in. Well done to CDPR for coming to the right conclusion. But I am worried about just the fact that it's only being deducted crown points because it sort of works for the moment. Like, could maybe leave us in a sticky situation a year down the line. And we're going to talk to Spyby for like 5 minutes. So Spyby's a bit of an expert on the situation, guys, because going into Open 4, it was possible that the Wang ID win trading situation was going to impact Spyby, but because Shaggy lost in the first round of the Open, it meant Spyby just went through without having to worry about this. But Spyby's an expert on the situation, so we're going to get in a call with Spyby in just a minute. So we're going to chat to Spyby. Oh, hello, mate.
Hello.
So, Spyby, also known as Dark Kevin, you were pretty badly impacted, potentially, by the Wang ID win trading drama, because it ended up being Shaggy impacted because of his Open performance, but it could well have been you. So you're a bit of an expert on the situation of what evidence there was against Wang ID.
Yes. So somebody tipped us off. I don't know if it was Wasubi or it was Kuna who kind of realized that Wangit was streaming on an alt account. So we just hopped in the website on Huya and just looked at his stream for a while.
So he wasn't actually streaming on his main account. I assume he's got a main account that he usually streams on, but he was on a shady second account, you mean?
Yeah. He was on a second account, is what I've been told, because I'm not keeping up with this because I haven't watched it before.
So this is sort of this was impacting you much more around a month ago or so, right? Whereas because of Shaggy's Open,
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
been like as a big a deal. It's really shaggy. It's been impacting.
Yeah, like up until open, I've been like pretty stressed about it, and I already forgot about it actually because like people weren't too optimistic that action is gonna be taken because it's quite hard, I imagine. But luckily, CDPR came through,
Yeah,
and um, yeah. I mean, it was just very strange, right? Like, why would you, as the top player, like last week, the stakes are as high as ever? Why would you even stream your fucking games?
yeah.
That was like the first thing. Like, okay,
Right.
weird.
So
Why would you?
because the stakes are so high, as a if you know the difference between like a few wins and losses at like when you're at peak MMR is making masters and not. So to stream your games does open you up. It's something I've talked about before to win trading, not win trading. Sorry, to stream
Yeah,
sniping, where
seems like
you can have like a competitor like on an alternate account or something that's really good at the game going in and just trying to like snipe a good matchup. So like they see you're playing alumni, for example, and then you bring a deck that's just got a bunch of bombs and removal and all those sorts of things. So to stream your games would open you up to potentially uh, other people.
yeah, something like that. Because like when you watch Spyro, for example, like it feels like he's getting stream sniped
Yeah, and I've
quite
experienced it as
on
well when I've
short.
tried to play
Yeah, you as
competitively,
well.
and I've been like quite high up the ladder. I have found my win rate to be significantly better off stream, and that obviously there's probably a part of that because when I'm streaming, you could argue I'm not like fully focused, but
Yeah,
like there's definitely I think uh, certainly when you're high up the ladder, that it does definitely at least it very much opens the possibility, right? If there's no need to do it, if you don't need to stream when the stakes are so high, so why would you?
and also like why even stream? Like because streaming takes away some of your attention to
Yeah,
the game, I would imagine. I mean,
definitely.
I've never. I mean, when I've streamed for you guys in TV, like it's always better to just be alone.
No,
Actually,
definitely. And it's something that the more you do, you can become used to it. So like I think like now when I stream Gwent, it's kind of similar, but
yeah.
I'm not sure how often YID streams. I would imagine it's not like a daily streamer, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I was told it wasn't very often, and then to just show up out of nowhere for the last week of the most important competitive season like in
Yeah.
Gwent ever, kind of weird. So that tipped us off, and we just were monitoring a bit, like just watching what he's playing and like trying to avoid queuing and stuff like this because yeah.
Mhm.
And we like 4 days to season end or so, like there was like some guys just straight up forfeiting, like queuing into him, then emoting and just forfeiting, right? And then it
Right.
was a Chinese guy. And it was like the situation, I mean, probably you can relate that it's like a viewer queues into you and he just forfeits and says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to queue into you."
Yeah, it's definitely happened before where I've had people do that to me, right? Where they queue in and they forfeit, and I always say, if you accidentally queue into me and you're in the stream, close the
Yeah,
stream, continue to play the game. But
yeah,
yeah, as you say,
yeah,
like in theory, it might not be Wang ID. There's no evidence that you could say that because there's people forfeiting that
yeah.
he's complicit in that. But what CDPR have said in the competitive ruling is, and Berza mentioned it as well on This Week in Gwent, if that is happening to you as a player and people are forfeiting games against you, you should like let CDPR know, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't think much of it because I was thinking that it was one of the cases where like reviewer just randomly by mistake queued into him, and then I was like, yeah, I mean, sucks, gets a free win.
Hmm.
Let's move on. But like, it just didn't stop, right? Like, there wasn't a lot on the first day. Like, there were some tie trades too. Like, for example, someone just doesn't use all of his coins as syndicates, forcing a tie, and
Right.
then some other forfeits, but it wasn't like a lot, right? So, but then like the last 2 days, like this was like 2 days before season end.
So
The
this is when the stakes are the highest as well, right?
yeah, so it wasn't a lot. Like that was like maybe three a day or so. Like the first day we watched it, and we just brushed it off as yeah unlucky. Some Chinese guys accidentally queued into him, or it's a viewer, um, stuff like that, right? But then like that was the craziest evening. Like 2 days before the season ended, like every 4 games or so, there was a guy just emoting, throwing the game,
Yep.
and just going. And I was like, what the fuck, guys? Like, are you guys seeing this shit?
Hmm.
And like we had a lot of guys watching, and as I told you, like also other people were watching it because I got DMs from like Nick after the season was
So
over that he
Nick's
was
from the
also
Russian community, right?
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it says
Um,
here that 3.7% of his matches were found in violation. So that is like a lot of matches to. It's not just like one or two. You know, that is a lot.
I did the math. It's like 25 matches,
Wow, mate, he
and
did
like
the maths
20.
as well. You can come on the channel more often, mate.
No, I mean I took I used the calculator, obviously. I'm not used to that kind of math just by playing Gwent, lol. Um, but yeah, like that evening, that was so crazy that I just hit up Shaggy because Shaggy was like the guy I knew was affected most because we
Mhm.
were in a race for
Yeah, because
crown
this is all
points.
about getting crown points, right? So,
Yeah,
was it Wang ID, yourself, and Shaggy? There was no one else
yeah,
really
and then
involved in
it
the
was,
race,
and then
was
it
there?
was, and then it was Kams and Akela.
Right.
But I would imagine that Shaggy would be the most invested because we two were the most at risk
Sure.
of dropping.
Yeah.
And then I shot Shaggy the link to the stream, and he didn't have to wait a long time because, like, literally, like 2 games later, another win trade happened. Like, a guy just randomly forfeiting, or like they just used leader round 1 and then just did some clown plays like assassinating a shield and stuff.
Right.
We took some screenshots, but then when Shaggy got involved, like I told him, yeah, can you record it? And so Shaggy recorded all the stuff, and so he recorded for the last day because Wangit sure got online again and streamed again, and then Shaggy recorded, and we got like 6 obvious win trades
Hmm.
that, yeah, we recorded, we reported it, and got the investigation going that way.
So, do you think without this evidence, like of Wang ID streaming the win trades, do you think he would have gotten away with it?
I mean, the question is, would the win trades even happen if he didn't stream? Because it was
Right.
like it was so incentive. Like you can't. He probably didn't tell them. Yo, queue into me and forfeit like in DMs. That doesn't sound like. But it was like always the same skins
Hmm.
and GGing the guys. Like I didn't get GGs because I beat him,
Hmm.
but the win traders got GGs.
Right. Right.
Um, and yeah, like for like normally people just say, okay, don't queue into me again, please. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it didn't seem like it, and there was also like we couldn't read the chat, but there was some talks of big sisters in chat, and I guess big sisters are like code names. I don't know, man.
Okay. So
I don't know.
Shimiri asked, did Wang ID emote back to the win trader?
Yeah. They were emoting back and forth, Shin.
Right.
And like also suspicious was like in the beginning they straight up forfeited, right? But
Hmm.
then over the days
Yeah.
it became more and more like disguised. First they just forfeited on the spot round 1,
Hmm.
then on like second day it was like a couple of clown plays and just giga throws.
Yep.
Then on the last day it was like super well hidden actually. Like for example, not purifying something with your forest protector against Nilfgaard and allowing a coup, for example, like
Hmm.
plays like this.
Hmm.
Like you could say, okay, this is
Just a misplay.
just a misplay, but then when the same guy pops up who has been win trading for the past days, then you're
Yeah.
like, okay,
Absolutely, and that sort of makes sense as well. That like they're kind of trying to cover the tracks. They're aware that they're doing dodgy things. Where, I mean, if you're instantly forfeiting, it's quite clear. And it's a lot easier to see, and
yeah,
CDPR's data will be able to see this game lasted like this long. Like you've got the match history tab on your
yeah,
profile, so seeing that someone is just, and even if you were to just look at someone's record on the ladder, if you just see that like the amount of games going up so quickly, it would be quite obvious and it'll draw more attention to it. So to drag out the games, make them look close, makes a lot of sense as well. If you're
yeah,
trying to be shady and cover your tracks.
yeah. We were kind of like not happy about this, right? Because we sent in the videos and we had to kind of like explain what's actually why it is a win trade sometimes.
Hmm.
But it was like the same guy so often
Yeah.
that it was quite easy. Like the one guy who got banned last month.
So it's Pork Belly before, right? He got banned initially and then didn't.
Yeah, or this the other guy that they mixed up.
Right.
Uh,
So
whoever
my
it was.
understanding with that is that both players had the name Pork Belly, but one was like an American account or something, as opposed to the Chinese account that qualified. I don't know. It's very confusing.
Yeah, that was very
So I
confusing.
think I think essentially what happened with this one, where if you guys aren't aware, what happened was initially they announced that Pork Belly was being banned for 1 month, but then they realized that it was two different accounts.
There
They
was
don't
like
they don't have the
one.
same names. Okay, thanks for clarifying that,
Yeah,
Shin.
there was like one very minor line different in one of the letters, and they just didn't
The
check
imposter used a
early
Chinese
enough.
character that looks extremely similar to Porkbelly's name. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
So
Thanks for clarifying that because that would have been bad if I put out the wrong info. So yeah, that this was just like some sort of mix up as well, but it was related to the Wang ID
yeah,
situation because this
yeah, yeah,
so this ruling was in October, which means it was the previous month. So it was actually late September this was happening, right? So this has been sort of ongoing for what, like a month and a half or so. Just been sort of
yeah,
waiting to hear back. So it must have been pretty stressful, obviously for yourself, until the recent Open when you knew that you'd be fine either way. But obviously for Shaggy as well, must have been a pretty stressful time for him.
yeah. I mean, I was having faith in CDPR because it was so obvious what was going on, and God bless they came through.
Yeah, that is really good to see. Do you think that there is any better ways of like stopping this happening in the future?
It's like it's very dodgy. I think it's like this sends a very good message
Mhm.
because if because CDPR has the means to investigate, as
Yeah,
shown here,
yeah,
and if there's some speculation going and some people tip them off about looking into the matter and they take it seriously, like you're gonna get punished. So this sends, I think, the correct message in regards to stuff like this in the esports scene.
definitely. And while it has taken a long time, like it's much better for it to take a longer time, but come to the right conclusion and just be really thorough with it. So yeah, really, really happy to see that it has been resolved. And of course, that does mean that Shaggy and yourself were going to be at Masters. So would you like to queue into him in the first round, or would you rather save that to the final?
Uh, I'm, I don't know how, I just don't like to queue into Pyre or comes the other players. I don't mind
Right, so
seeing
Cams
them.
and Piebol both in Masters as well, and both
Yes,
in TLG. So you just want to avoid those guys and then
just
don't
yeah,
mind.
just avoid the teammates.
So
And then
the other people who participate, there's Pyre, Cams, Akela, yourself, Shaggy, and then there's two other people as well that must have won Opens.
we have,
Big
I mean,
Cuckoo
the open winners are Big Cuckoo, Tailbot,
and
and
Tailbot.
Lord Triss.
Ah, Lord Triss as well, mate. My nemesis. He famously knocked me out in the AQ mirror before I tried to get through to the last day of the top 64, but just didn't happen, mate. We flipping tied and we had to replay it, and then my
I
Triss
actually
didn't find Bone Talisman, man.
I actually remember that one. You were so upset.
I know. The
So
worst thing
sad.
is, all I needed to do was use my leader before. I was in such a good spot, but I'd never played a mirror before with AQ. Like barely played the deck.
Mm.
All I needed to do was use my leader. Like I was in such a winning position. I just needed to use my leader before he used his yen. But because I didn't use my leader, he yenned, which gave him what, like 10 extra points if I'd leaded first. And we tied that game despite my misplay. And then yeah, the replay, mate, my Triss missed Bone Talisman. I lost round one on even. Oh,
That's
so
bad,
sad.
man.
But I'm gonna next season. I'd be pretty interested in trying to play in those again. It was good fun. So you were in. You didn't make it to any opens this season, right? So this is actually your first tournament of the year.
Unfortunate not, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
have to step up my tournament game for Masters for sure.
yeah. Do you know if you're going to be prepping with Cams and Pyre? If you're going to be doing your own separate things? Have you decided yet?
I'm definitely gonna prep with Paya comes is not the biggest English talker, so
Yeah, so there's
there's
a bit of a
bit of
language
language
barrier
barrier.
there. Hmm.
But I'm definitely gonna prep with Paya, yeah.
And who do you think the favorite is?
The favorite for Masters,
Yeah.
or I actually don't know if the. I mean, I would like to see like Paya or Comes or myself. Like,
Hmm.
if my teammates do it, I'm happy. And I think like Comes, like, have you seen the score? Like, if you last season, like Comes is undisputed ladder king.
Right.
Like the scores he made, it's just insane.
And there's a few
And
people that haven't had to play as much recently as well. Like Tailbot hasn't had to play too much because he got what he won Open 1, so he's been locked in for Masters since then.
yeah, Tailbot has been gone for a long time. I mean, it's Tailbot still, so you're gonna expect he's just gonna be fine. But yeah, I put my money on Comes or Fire.
I think, do you know, if I had to place a bet on it, because he'd be like a bit of an underdog as well, I think Alou has the best like at the bookmakers. If there was bookmaker odds, because I reckon he'd be like a big outsider, but I definitely don't think there's a really strong lineup, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
really
the
really
lineup
excited
is
for it.
super strong. Like me and I think I mean Ilucha has been always a good player, so he's very deserving of the spot. I
Hmm.
think like myself and Lotris are like the outsiders,
Hmm.
but like Lotris has been very solid
Yeah,
over the
mate, he
last
did famously
month.
once win an AQ mirror against the Spiceman himself, so that's how you know he's a
Yeah.
baller. Shin asks, he uses a word that I don't know the meaning of, so I'm gonna have to Google it first. 1 second. Uh, Homogeneous.
I
You
mean,
do you know what that means, Spyby?
yes, I
You're not a
do. Like
native English speaker, but
I do I do know what it means. Yeah. Yes, I actually think so, Shin. I mean, you're gonna have Tailbots who's not gonna look at the meta and he's just gonna look at the deck builder and put something together. So maybe Tailbot is like my bet on having.
Tailbot's gonna put Lambert in all of his decks.
But yeah, um, for now, like you've seen what's happened with Open.
Yeah, so the latest
And
Open was probably I don't think it's controversial, the most stale in terms of deck variety. There just wasn't any variety. There was only what four leaders as well, four factions even. I don't think there was even any variation of the factions and leaders. So obviously there's been a few changes compared to last season. Like Monsters got the Toad Prince, for example, which is like a massive. That card is crazy good. Whether that's enough to help Monsters see play, I'm not sure. Um, but then you've also just got like these group of players, as you mentioned. Someone like Teobot is very likely to not really care. Even like Payabo as well. He's not been playing exactly much recently, but he's not going to be afraid to ignore the meta really and back himself to make some cool decks. I imagine, and I mean Shaggy as well has definitely been known in the past to bring some spice. So,
yeah,
so
I mean,
would you say you reckon that there's likely to be a lot of people just sort of bringing this like similar lineup from Open Four, but there may be a few that are just going their own route?
it could be. Like I haven't really looked much into a lot of experimentation yet. We're gonna be prepping for the next 2 weeks a bit harder on this one. But like you also have Akela.
Hmm.
You have like Akela who's been known to have like
Yeah, definitely.
some interesting decks.
Akela was the man behind the like Araka Swarm deck with Portal, right? Like, earlier on in the
Ye-
year,
Uh,
I think.
yeah, Akela has been an infamous piler throughout this year. So I think we're gonna have some variation definitely, but I wouldn't be surprised if we resolve to have just meta decks
Yeah,
in the end, because it's like super hard right now to figure something out that's strong.
yeah. Like I've struggled a lot this month to just like make a bunch of super competitive decks that aren't the norm. I mean, you look at Nilfgaard, you're kind of tied to the assimilate package seemingly. Nature's Gift just seems like the way to go with Scoia'tael. And obviously Scoia'tael had a really bad performance at the Open, and it also got nerfed with the Sorceress now being 6 provision since then. So Scoia'tael maybe going out of favour. Obviously Syndicate, just not much going on there seemingly. Like certainly not in the last Open. And then you've got alumni decks for NR, which just seem like the way to go. And then whatever Skellige, you've got Flurry, right? So interesting. Look at the win rates from the previous season. I was looking at them yesterday. There was actually a bunch of Skellige decks from the from Pro Ladder last season that actually had a positive win rate. But Flurry is just so popular for obvious reasons. It just does a little bit of everything. Obviously, that got nerfed slightly as well with Fukusha, but I think it was only a point, right? Don't think it got any other nerfs. So yeah, definitely excited to see how many interesting decks we do see at Masters, and it is a absolutely stacked lineup. So overall, do you think that this is, just to summarize, do you think this is enough? Would you like to have seen a more harsh ban, or do you think this is like the most they could have done?
I think I'm content with what they came up with, because it allows Shaggy to take the spot, and yeah, I think it's fine, honestly.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, Shin. Have you seen that Adzkov's playing this season, Spyby?
No, I've not.
He's
paid
number
attention
2 on the
to
ladder,
that.
yeah. I don't know if I've seen him on the ladder since Masters 1.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I don't see Bart at number 1.
His part playing
No.
doesn't look like it. Wang ID's number 11, actually. Just one behind Spiro. Mate, by the way, that Adzakov versus Freddy series, Jesus Christ, that was maybe the best series of Gwent I've watched this year. That was so good. It was very stressful, though. I'm not gonna lie, I was quite stressed and drunk. Alright, Spy. Well, thanks for coming to chat. It was really insightful. Enjoyed that, and all the very best of luck at Masters.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say to the kind people in the chat?
Drop a sub for our man Specimen Gwent.
Oh, mate. Yeah, particularly the Twitch Prime subs, mate. They're the ones we're looking for.
No, man, I'm glad to clear some things up, and just hope you guys have a good rest of the stream.
Sweet, mate. Well, if ever you want to come on and I can teach you how to play Beast SK,
That's good.
let me know. All right, mate.
Good. All right, yeah.
Speak
See
later.
you.
Bye-bye. So hopefully we don't see any more wind trading in Gwent, because it kind of sucks. And yeah. But it's resolved. That is the main thing. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Nice one.